Hey, good morning. Yes, it is. It is Thursday, April 24th. And what are we going to talk about today? Well, what I thought we'd go over is what what approach works best when it comes to actual billable hours and what we charge our customer. So stay tuned. Alrighty, welcome back to the channel. My name is Eric, and yes, this is the weekday, Monday through Friday. Today is Thursday, the 24th of April, 2025. So, what are we talking about today? I'm talking about what the actual bill starts off to be, and then what it ends up being when you hand it to your customer, start to finish. And there's two lines of logic with this. I can tell you right off the bat. There's probably more than that, but I know there's two lines. There's Claude's and mine. That's the two lines of logic that I know. All right. So a customer's machine comes in just to do a regular service on it. All right. And as he's going, he's finding more things wrong with it and more things that need to go on to the list of billable, payable hours, right? And we've run into this numerous times with customers, and that is finding things that weren't expected. But see, that's where I try to get across to you guys and myself as well, is that you need to keep the customer in the loop. If you find something that's going to make the price a little higher, then they need to be notified, right? They need to be kept in the loop if that's the type of customer they are. There are some customers that don't want to know. All they want to know is the finished product. But that goes back to every machine that comes through the shop, we try to treat it as our own. Would we want that costly repair done without being talked to first? You know, it's not always about it is what it is. It's more about the way the customer perceives it or digests it, if that's a better word. But if they're expecting a couple $100 bill for a normal service, and you come in at $500-600, expect to see some bigger eyeballs looking at you, because they're going to want to know why it's that much more. And you can explain to them, well, we found a couple cracks in the deck that we had to repair, and yada, yada, yada. But most of our customers are clueless about that kind of stuff, right? But if you give them a call before you go ahead and do that, to give them the heads up, and then allow them to decide what to do, isn't that the better plan? I know that it's going to be a 50-50 split. And you got the way Claude looks at it is what it is. Whatever he gets done, whatever hours he's got into it, no matter what, and the parts and all the other stuff, that's what the bill is. That's what you charge them. That's what you, if they don't like it, they can go somewhere else. That mentality is going to have you have less customers. I'm telling you right now, you're going to be unemployed. Because if you have that attitude coming forward when it comes to every repair job, why would anybody bring it to you? If you are not taking them into consideration, into the question, into the billing, into anything, with the mindset of it is what it is, what it is. And I've said before that one of the things that I have to do as a business owner is I have to take the worksheet that Claude has done up on it and then look at it and need to make it digestible so I can explain exactly what did we do to have it cost that much more in that many more hours. And if it's because there was a major problem that you ran into, well, shouldn't you have called the customer to let them know you ran into a problem, even if you still think it's worth fixing? Most of my customers would want to know. They would rather have a chance to say yay or nay on it than be stuck with it at the end. They may have been on the verge of trying to decide, well, I've had that mower for 10, 15 years, and I've been thinking about getting a brand new one. The price that you came in out with, it is what it is, they would have gone and bought a brand new one versus repairing the one they had. And you're going to say, well, the one they had was worth putting the money into. It is to us, but not to them. See, it's perception. It's what your customer perceives from start to finish. It's not how we perceive it. It's how they perceive it. And if you have a customer that questions your bill, you need to keep cool, keep calm, cool, collective, and have the ability to explain out what's going on with the bill and why it is the way it is. If you've done things correctly, your customer isn't going to be asking you a lot of extra questions because you brought them into the fold and allowed them a say in it. And if they said yes, go ahead and fix it. When they come to pay for it, you're not going to get those deer in the headlight stares of trying to decide whether to pay it or not. We could still go back to saying it is what it is, and whatever the hours we had into it, bill the customer. But there might have been some things. This is the other thing I look at too, is learning lessons. You can't learn off the backs of your customers. And I'll tell you, a lot of times when we come up against something new or different, and it takes us quite a bit longer, we end up from that job figuring out what's the easiest way to do that. And that gets put back here in the old noggin, right? So that the next time we incur that, we know exactly how to fix that. So that's worth money too, right? For the shop. Why should the customer have to pay for us learning how to do it the right way? So I take that into consideration too. And so should you. That you can't bill your customers for the time you spent learning something new if you've never done it before. Doesn't it seem sensible not to bill your customer for all the time you spent on it? It does to me. Because no matter how long you've been running a shop, you are still never too old or have been at it for too long that you can't find things that are new and that you need to learn. And especially with you old timers like myself that are going into the battery phases. It's a whole new learning lesson. And we can't put that on the backs of our customers. We either need to learn the new ways or get out, one or the other. One of the other things that I've learned about the years of being in the business is that when it comes to billable hours, it is what it is. Had you gotten a hold of that customer before you did the extras, the stuff that needed to be done, a lot of times what ends up happening is the customer will come back with, what will you give me for it just the way it is? Does it have value? And if you're trying to tell the customer that it's worth putting the money into, my line of logic says I should be able to sell it for more than what the repairs are, right? Because once it gets over half of what replacement value is, I try to push my customers towards a new one with a warranty. Sell this one on Facebook, get up from underneath it, and go get yourself a new one. But we get asked that a lot. What would you give me for it the way it is? And depending upon the machine, some nothing to pay them, almost $1,000, $1,200, $1,300, depending upon the machine and what I think I can get out of it. And a lot of it in my head goes through, what time of year is it? Because if it's any time in May on, I'm probably going to sit on it for a full year. I know in this area, the best time to sell a lawnmower is the beginning of the season or just before tax time, when people are doing their income taxes and getting refunds. And that's when they're going to buy used equipment. Once you get into May, most people that needed a rider or a zero turn or what have you have already got it, have found it, or went and bought brand new. But if you have a customer that is sitting on the verge of, do I pull the trigger and get a brand new one, or do I fix my old one? And you're with the mindset of it is what it is, and you go ahead and you fix the customer's machine feeling that, it was still worth fixing, you may end up eating that. And what do I mean by that? I mean, if you're doing it the right way, there's still quite a bit of meat on the bone, and you may not financially be able to do it, of where you're buying used equipment and reselling it. I am. I have the used market as well. But I usually give half of what retail is. And I also understand that it ties up my money. When it's the off season or after tax time, when people have spent all their refunds and everything, I'm probably going to have to sit on it for a full year unless I get that special, unique individual. And it's got to be a standard model, right? It can't be some fancy-dancy with all the options, because now you're limiting who is willing to buy it. And you have to wait for that one or two people that would like to have all the bells and whistles show up. In other words, you're going to get a lot of tire kickers in the meantime. And what I find with a lot of our customers, they don't want to deal with tire kickers. And we've done that as well, is we've offered a deal with commission base, that if you want to leave it here, we'll try to sell it out front. And then we collect 10%, 15% off from the sale price. And a lot of times they'll tell me, put the price on it you think it's worth. And it depends upon who the customer is. Some price it for a fast sale. Others are, no, I'm not giving it away. See, here's some whole new things to digest. But if you go back to it is what it is, and your customer was on the verge of buying something new anyways, then expect, which, like I say, we get quite a bit. A customer will say, what would you give me for it in the condition that it's at, before you start putting a lot of money into it? And you're putting your money where your mouth is, right? If you're telling a customer that it's worth putting the money into, wouldn't it be reasonable enough to say that the lawnmower plus repairs would be worth it to you as well, because you have value to sell it? Again, it's in your ballpark. If you're repairing things and it is what it is, and it becomes more than what the lawnmower is actually worth, why wouldn't the customer complain? Why wouldn't they have a fit when you hand them the final bill? But no, I'd have to do this with every bill that comes across my table, is how would I feel if I were the customer? What would be my expression? And did we notify the customer ahead of time that we were going to do these repairs? Did we get the okay to go ahead and do them? Even if it's a safety issue, did we call and get the customer into the loop before stepping out and doing it? Now, granted, I've got customers that tell me, just do whatever you got to do. As long as you feel it's necessary and it's worth it, do it. Those aren't the customers I'm talking about. It's the customers, like most of my customers, is they have budgets. And most of the time, they're living paycheck to paycheck. And what may seem like, $200 and some dollars above the bill is nothing. Others, it's a lot. It could be groceries for a week and a half. You know what I'm saying? So I'm going to start wrapping this up. In the comments, how do you approach it if you're a shop owner? Because you have the last say on it, right? Before the customer gets notified of looking at the bill and then trying to come up with the best game plan. I'm curious to find out. So on that note, you guys have a great Thursday. We'll catch you here bright and early tomorrow morning.